Hi, I'm Patricia Ann Crosby Rancifer, Taquan Crosby great aunt. He's here to interview me and I'm ready for any questions that he has.
Okay, so what was the world like when you were
Oh, the world was like, it was a wonderful place. Wasn't anything like it is now. You wasn't frightened of people. People seem to get along much better. You go to church and didn't have to worry about being shot. You could walk the streets at night if you wanted to, which I did not. But if you wanted to and no one would bother you, you could go to your grocery store and people mingle. It was just a good time. It seemed to me like people just seem to care more about each other than they do now.
Okay.
Groceries weren't high. But you can make a lot of money, but things were just different from what they are now. Those were the good old days.
Okay, so on with the next question. How was your time like? What was your time with your family?
What was my time with my family?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we had family time. We had a very large family. I am number 10 of 10. I had 2 brothers and 9 sisters. I'm number 10. 8. Well, anyway, it was 10 of us, and there were always a lot of people at my parents' home. Children and grandchildren were always there. Never quiet, never dull. We loved each other, and we always ate together. Breakfast, dinner, and supper at the table, not all over the house in front of the TV like children do now.
So how was the grade school experience?
Oh, grade school. Well, when I was a little girl, we had actually the school that I first attended was a part of the church, because in those days, black children didn't have schools like they have now. We were not integrated. We was totally segregated. And so we had the school that I attended, it had 2 rooms in grade 1 through 8. And when student passed 8th grade and went to 9th grade, there was an older man who would transport them from Flowood to Brandon. Again, that was a total segregated school.
So what was your favorite hobby and special interest?
My favorite hobby were playing softball and skating. And I love to read and I love to dance.
So who were your heroes back then?
My heroes back then, well, we didn't have a lot of heroes. Because Dr. King wasn't born when I was a little girl. And let's see, my favorite heroes, I guess it was like, I didn't have any, to tell you the truth.
So what was your favorite typical day?
What the typical day was like, in the summer, well, every day when we got up in the morning, you had to, well, after you got dressed for school and ate breakfast, the dishes had to be washed. This is later on in life, before the bus picked you up. If your dishes were not washed, then you couldn't go to school. So when you got up, you had to hit the road running and do everything you're supposed to do. Your bed had to be made up, the kitchen clean. And it was just a lot to do. Children were not lazy back then, because you had to do what your parents told you to do. No talking back. I mean, even if you didn't want to, you couldn't look at them strange. They were different from parents today.
So how was your surroundings? Where did you live? How were your surroundings?
How was I surrounded?
No, like, Where did you live?
Oh, I lived in Flowood.
Surrounded.
Lived in Flowood before Flowood became a big city. The mayor in Flowood, he was also the justice of the peace. We had one police officer, and we lived in what was called the Knox quarters, because there was a Knox Glass Bottling Company, and the black folks lived down from the bottling company, and the white folks lived up front. And but they were not hateful like people are now. We all attended the same grocery stores, and everybody knew everybody. All the whites knew all the blacks, and all the blacks knew all the whites. That's how small it was. Flowood was a small place which consists of just nothing like it is today.
So, what was your favorite kind of music?
My favorite music was, back then, rock and roll, good dancing music. I always liked the blues too. As a little girl, I liked the blues and could sing it too. And since I love the dance, and I like fast music, like the rock and roll. That's like what we had. And I liked some jazz after I went to college, but other than that, just music, period. If some noise was going on, I liked it.
So, what did you do for fun?
As a little girl, is this when I played?
Childhood.
We played. Now, when I was a little girl, we had plenty of games that we made up. We had circle game, we had hopscotch, we played jacks, we played checkers, but you played basically all day long, where you go outside in the morning to play, and then you come in at 12 o'clock and eat your lunch, and you go back outside and play. You didn't just sit in the house, just sit and do nothing. Because when you went back outside, you run down all that food, then you ate your supper, and go back outside and play, but you had to be in the house before the sun went down. It was just a whole lot of fun. Just all the children played together.
So, what kind of pets did you have?
We had a dog. We had one dog, and the dog's name was Ranger. And by some instances, I don't know, he became infected with rabies, and my parents didn't know it, and since I loved to play with him, I went out one day to pet him on the pet, and growled at me like that and snapped me, broke the skin. And I guess a few days later, I was sick, and my parents didn't know what was wrong. I was foaming at the mouth like a dog, and they took me to the hospital, and the doctor said, good you bought her when you bought her, because she had been bitten by a rabid dog. So I remember that very well, very well. I was one sick little girl.
Who was your favorite teacher?
My favorite teacher was a lady named Mrs. Groves that I had when I was in first grade. She was tall, and I modeled myself after her. She looked so pretty every day, and she was a good teacher. She's the person who taught me to read. I wasn't quite 5 years old when I first went to school, because all my other siblings went. Then they just allowed me to come along too. And I had this little book that I learned to read, and not only did I learn to read it, I learned every page verbatim, and I still have that little book too. So,
what were your dreams like?
Well, when I was small, I wanted to be a doctor, but at that time there was certain school we could not attend, and that was my dream for a long time. And then later on, I decided that I would be a teacher. So that's what I found out, that I was born to be a teacher, because I love to teach and I love children.
Who were your special friends?
My special friend? My special friends were a girl named Eva Jane Hobson, Emma Callender, Edna Mangum, Lula Head. Those were my special friends. Then I had other friends that weren't close like that, but they were my friends too.
So, what was your responsibility like?
Since I was the baby of the bunch, well, As a little girl, I didn't have much to do, but everybody had to clean the yard, rake the yard, and my mom loved flowers, so we'd help her in the flower bed. But when I got older, then my job was to wash dishes and mop the kitchen floor.
So we're moving on to teen years. What was your first date like?
The prom. The junior senior prom, that was my first date when I was a junior in college, and my sister went with me and my the so-called boyfriend. You couldn't go any place by yourself in those days. Somebody else had to go with you as a chaperone. So my sister Clara went with me, that I'm next to. And that was my first date. It was a good date.
What was your first job like?
Oh, my first job was a job I hated. When I graduated from high school, I was 17 years old, and I didn't go to college. My mom said I had to work my first year and pay my tuition. So I had to work in the cafeteria, Pearl High School cafeteria. It was a job that I hated. I cried every day that I went, and I promised myself that is not the kind of work that I was going to do. That was my first time working in the cafeteria and my last.
We've already did special friends, but what was the world like?
What was the world like? It was pretty much the same as it was when I was a little girl, but at this time, when I was a teenager, it was becoming better. They had passed laws to do away with segregation, whereas we could attend school with the other race and have books. Some of the same books if we were in school with them, we were going to have the same books. But when we were younger, we had to get the leftover book. In fact, that's what we received after they were outdated. Then they would bring them to the black schools.
Okay, so what was your most embarrassing moment?
I can't recall an embarrassing moment as a teenager. I'm trying to see, because that's been a long time ago. As a teenager, I just can't think of anything right now.
Okay, on to the next question. How was your first job?
Oh, my first job?
First drive.
Drive? Oh, I started driving when I was 10. So I've been driving a long time. My brother taught me how to drive. So by the time I was 12 years old, I was driving everywhere in my daddy's car. He allowed me to. And to carry my mom to the grocery store and places like that. But it was strange because I guess there weren't so many police officers and they weren't stopping you like they, do now. But yeah, I was 12. At 12, I had an age. And I did not get my driving license until I was 25. But I had been driving from 12 to 25. That's right.
Okay, on to the adulthoods. What jobs did you have in adulthood?
Job do I have now?
Like when you're an adult.
Oh, as an adult, I taught school. 34 years. Worked for Children Defense 8 years. At the time when I was working, I also received different degrees, and my last degree was a doctorate in early childhood education. So I worked pretty hard for everything that I have.
What was your marriage like?
Oh, my marriage? See, I was married 1981. The marriage was good. It was a good marriage. I had one son. But we divorced, and with no hard feelings. But it was good while it lasted 19 years. So.
What were your children like?
Oh, my son, John. A good person. So kind and loving. Loves his mom and his dad. And he'll do anything for anybody if they ask him to. That's the only child.
What were your grandchildren like?
Well, I have now what I call my grandchildren. They good grandchildren. Taquan, I call him my grandchild, and I have two up in North Mississippi that I call my grandchildren, Ryan and Kaylee. And they are all good children, sweet as they can be, and so honorable and respectful. And that is what counts in this life now. They got to be respectful.
What did you dislike about your food, and what did you like? What kind of foods did you like, and what kind of foods you dislike?
Oh, when I was young, I disliked squash, but I love them now. And I love fried chicken. I love hamburgers. I love mashed potatoes, rice, red beans and rice, and cornbread, pork chop, pork and beans. Everything that's good, I love it. And greens, now I do. So I don't know of anything else that I dislike. Now, when I was younger, I really didn't like squash, and I didn't like okra. But now, I love all that.
So, what was your view of the world?
My view of the world now? It's in a bad shape. Not so much the world is in a bad shape, it's the people. If there were not so much hate in the world would be a better place. But now, we're already divided, separated, but we were doing better. It seemed to me like now we back to that old hate monger stuff, where people just hate each other, and I don't understand it. And call themselves Christians in church every Sunday, in church every Wednesday, but still you can't stand your neighbor, and I hate them because they this color. I hate her because she has that thing on her head, or it's just awful. And if things don't get any better, we're going to disintegrate. This world is.
What was your favorite poem or story?
My favorite poem is Annabelle Lee, and it's in this book right here. This is my favorite book. It's filled with poems. Annabelle Lee. You want me to read the first part of it for you?
Yes, ma'am.
It was many and many a years ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me.
Thank you. Now, what was your great joy?
Greatest joy? The birth of John, my son, my only son. I've never been so happy in all my days. I didn't know that there was a different kind of happiness. I was happy when I got married, but on the day that he was born, it was just like a different feeling. Like, now you really know what love is. You don't really know what love is until you have children.
What was your great sorrow?
Oh, the death of my dad and my mother and my brother. All those was, but I think the worst was the death of my brother because he died a sudden death. My mom was sick for a while and my dad, so they were terminally ill. But my brother had a massive heart attack at 46, so pretty sorry at that.
What do you do best?
Oh, what I do best? Cook. I know I can cook. That's what I do best now, and I know how to clean up a house and match up things, get dressed up. But the best thing I can do is cook. I know I can cook.
Were you in the military, and if so, what was it like?
No, I wasn't ever in the military because my mom wouldn't let me go. Because when I finished high school, I was 17 and I wanted to go. She said, no way. Mm-mm.
Okay, so what advice do you have for a good living person?
The advice that I have is this. Live each day like it should last and love your neighbor as yourself. That's my advice. That's what it says in the Bible.
Well, thank you for joining me for this interview.
You're welcome.
Thank you.